It's Wednesday, February 20th, 2013, and this is the Arizona Mining Review. I'm Allison, your host for this monthly show. Are we having a technical problem here?
That's a negative. It's restored.
Okay, sorry, we had a little glitch there with the transmission, but again, I'm Allison, Director of the Arizona Geological Survey. I'm your host today for the second episode of the Arizona Mining Review. We're going to be talking with experts from industry, academia, from government, and looking at issues related to mining and mineral resources across Arizona. Today, we're going to be joined by Nyal, who's going to be a regular contributor to the show. He's the chief of our economic geology section based in Phoenix. And this morning, Niall's going to update us on what's going on in gold mining and exploration around Arizona. Our featured guest today is going to be Dr. John Spencer, the chief geologist here at the Arizona Survey, who's just finished a new report looking at the mineral potential on the proposed Sonoran Desert Heritage Conservation area west of Phoenix. And then Paul Harder, the chairman of the recently completed Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, was going to join us today and give us an update. He's been called away at the last minute, so it's one of the challenges of trying to do a live show like this. But we have a nice video clip that we've been putting together from our crew that was on the floor of the Gem Show. And for a longer feature, we're going to give you a couple of extracts out of that. But to start off with, let's turn with Nyal up in Phoenix. Nyal, I know that gold for quite a few years around Arizona has been mostly produced as a byproduct from copper production. But here in the last few years, we've seen a pretty dramatic change. And I think you've got some updates on gold mines and some of the projects coming online.
Thanks for the introduction, Lee. Good morning.
Good morning.
We might just go ahead and get that first slide up on the screen. And what we'll note is that the current gold price, or at least the average for 2012, was about $1,670. For those who haven't tracked the gold price or don't recall, if we look back 10 years ago, we were looking at about a $400 gold price. So that that 4 times increased trend price has been driving both acquisition and exploration interest. We'll get to it a little later, but we've had a few mines resume production. Arizona's gold production is currently quite small from 2 primary lode producers and the byproduct copper production. But hopefully we'll see that continue to grow if these gold prices hold. And lest we forget, although the production from placers may not be significant in terms of the total number of ounces, I'm sure if you were the small mine operator who found the nugget in the lower right corner, you'd think it was quite significant to you. Anyways, let's go on to the next slide and take a look at where some of the gold properties that we're going to talk about this morning are located. And we're going to want to talk about 2 producers, and those are going to be located in the western part of the state. Those are going to be the Gold Road and the Copperstone mines, located inside the green boxes. We'll see 2 other properties out in western Arizona, also in green, outlined in green, and those will be a couple of advanced development stage properties, and those will be the Fancher and the Moss. We've also got a couple of more active exploration properties with significant drill programs we'll talk about, and we'll get to some of the rest of those towards the end of the talk this morning. If we could move on to the next slide and take a look at the Gold Road, which is operated by Mojave Desert Minerals, a private limited liability corporation. The Gold Road mine had been closed since 1998, taking advantage of the existing permits, an existing mill, carbon and pulp cyanide mill. It was pretty easy to resume production. They saved some outlay of capital by using the existing tailings dam. They didn't have to enlarge those by adopting the dry stack tailings method. They've operated for a couple of years, having resumed production in September of 2010. As they worked on some change in location of the mine production, and doing some mine development. They've been running some tailings from the United Eastern mine, but it's my understanding that they'll be resuming production from underground shortly. They also have been looking at some other properties in the districts. Perhaps we'll see them take a serious look at the former large producer, the United Eastern, and also a mine that hasn't seen any activity in a long time, United Western. If we go on to the next slide, we'll take a look at the Copperstone, operated by American Bonanza, a publicly traded Canadian junior. Although some of us may remember that it formerly had been an open pit mine operated by Cypress, in recent years, former years, there have been quite a drilling program occurring largely from the surface. With the rise in prices, though, a production decision had been made. A combination gravity and flotation mill was sourced largely with components from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. They also benefited from the BLM having a FONSI decision, that's a finding of no significant impact, which allowed them to relatively quickly get through the permitting and get that plant constructed. They've been in production for about a year now. They've replaced their mine contractor and operating underground themselves. They've been busy developing additional headings so they can get their production rate up to match the capacity of the mill. And they've been doing pretty good on that front. And recently they've been working at getting more of the feed to be ore rather than development material. The last reported production month was December, and I believe they've had about 1,100 ounces of gold produced, combination from the gravity cons and the flotation concentrate. Okay, so I wish we had more producers to talk about, but on now to some of the development properties. So we'll look next at the Fancher, which is held by another private company, Luxor Gold Limited Partnership. Some of you may know the Little Horn Mountains area and not recognize the name Fancher. This is a claim held adjacent to the historic Verdstone and Oakland properties, which were last produced as a small open pit, which we see the dump of in the photo that's at the bottom of this slide. The new discovery is up and to the right of some of those drill roads that you can see. Recently, progress has been occurring on the mine. Development has driven a decline. There's been some additional underground drilling conducted from that decline. Currently, the company is driving a raise that should soon be completed. They've selected a mill site up in the Siloam area, about 40 miles to the north, and they're working on permitting that. Let's go on to the next developing project. And I had hoped to talk about a very large gold resource, the largest in the state that had been reported in a National Instrument 43-101 qualified report. Surprisingly, yesterday there was a release from Northern Vertex, which controls the majority interest, 70%, along with Patriot Gold. And they announced that due to a resource miscalculation, they've had to withdraw all of their resource estimates. They provided some informal guidance, which probably doesn't make all the investors happy, but what they're suggesting is that where they formerly had suggested the measured and indicated resource had been about 31 million tons, they've had to reduce that to approximately 16 million tons. They're reasonably confident that the grade will remain the same. They plan to reduce a new compliant report as soon as they can. They'll be continuing with the preliminary economic analysis that was planned. That's still expected to be released in March, and that will use the new corrected resource estimates. And maybe their confidence may be lacking, who knows. But the president of the company said they plan to go forward with the phase 1 and phase 2 development plans that had been announced.
Niall, that's quite a shock to get that news from Northern Vertex. Have you ever run across a company having that kind of error discovered in their assessments before?
I've heard of something like that. It's usually associated with more suspicious activity. I don't think that'll be the case here. I think the engineering firm that prepared those estimates is going to be pretty embarrassed, but sometimes it happens.
Right. So you think the companies came out very quickly as soon as they discovered the error and made a very frank announcement of it. So
Yeah, I suspect it was probably some of the work that was being done on the preliminary economic analysis and reviewing all the calculations that went into developing the mine economic deposit model that had them run across these errors.
okay. Well, we're going to be following this one very closely. Hey, we've only got about 2 minutes left here.
Let's just quickly roll through the slides, and we'll just point to a couple of exploration areas, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So if we go to the next slide, you'll see that outlined now in much larger green boxes. We've got a handful of properties located in the western part of the state, a couple down in the southeastern part of the state. These are generally projects that have identified resources or have had more significant drill programs. Certainly there's many other projects and properties active throughout the state. Next slide. A couple that have reported plans for drilling this year. The Newsboy of Bullfrog Gold's got 2 drill programs planned. After that, they hope to jump into a preliminary economic feasibility study. They've got a historic resource that they've identified, and they've been doing infill drilling. On to Mexican Hat and Oracle Resources. Contrary to what was reported earlier, the company is not going to be taken over by Commonwealth Silver. They've announced plans to work on a RC drill program. They've been having some issues correlating the RC and diamond drilling, core drilling, recovery, and grades. So they hope to work at that, plus add to the existing known resource there. And if we could see the last slide, here are a number of other projects, some of the companies associated with them. They were discussed in the Arizona Geology magazine article that came out last fall. For more details on the geology and the company activities, some historic resource estimates for all of these properties, take a look at that article.
Fantastic. Niall, we're going to have to wrap it up here. I know we could probably talk quite a bit longer on just what's happening in gold alone, but thanks again. Great update, and we'll be bringing you back next month and take a look at another one of Arizona's major minerals.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Lee.
All right. All right, now we're going to get a report on the mineral potential in the proposed Sonoran Desert Heritage Area. Conservationists are proposing that approximately 1,170 square miles, or about 750,000 acres, of public lands be designated as national conservation areas, as wilderness areas, and as special management areas. And these lands are primarily located west of Phoenix. It would withdraw these lands from multiple use access, and that would include withdrawing them from mining. So here at the survey, Dr. John Spencer, who's our chief geologist, has just completed a preliminary assessment of the mineral potential out on those lands, and his report is in preparation right now. It's in publication or in print right now, getting ready to release. And John's joined us here to give us a little bit of a preview of what he's concluded from this study. So, John, welcome to the Arizona Mining Review.
Thank you.
And can you start by showing us where these proposed withdrawal areas are? I think you've brought some maps here that we can take a look at. So
yeah, if you look at the first figure here, what it shows is the area of Maricopa County. You can see western Maricopa County covers a large area. The next image shows the areas that were designated wilderness in 1990, after an environmental impact statement was done. A number of alternatives were considered. The next image shows the Sonoran Desert National Monument that was done late in the Clinton administration without an environmental review. It was simply done by executive decision under the Antiquities Act. The next image shows the proposed Sonoran Desert Heritage Plan. The green areas, as you can see, are almost all in western Maricopa County. These would all be effectively withdrawn from mineral entry. As Lee pointed out, this is about 1,170 square miles. It's a large area that covers many small mountain ranges in the western part of the state. The next image shows, well, in evaluating the mineral resource potential of this area, I considered several types of deposits, but not all types of deposits. This is a map of the 8 largest precious metal vein deposits in Arizona based on historic production, and that table above shows the total value of gold and silver production on the right side of the table. On the left side are the names of the different mines. As you can see here, the western part of the state has 7 of the 8 largest precious metal vein deposits, with all of these deposits of total production at today's prices worth about $7 billion. So these are not trivial. So I evaluated the Sonoran Desert Heritage proposed lands partly on the basis of their potential for precious metal deposits. The next image shows Maricopa County and the proposed lands. As you can see, the northern part of this proposed withdrawal area is in sort of among those red dots that show areas of past historic gold production. The next figure shows that northern area, and what you can see here are the Harquahala and Bighorn Mountains, Vulture Mountains up there on the upper right. The red areas were designated wilderness in 1990. The purple areas are areas that would be new wilderness under the Sonoran Desert Heritage Plan. And the thin blue outline that covers even more than those 2 areas would be a national conservation area under the Sonoran Desert Heritage Plan. Now, as you can see over on the left, Little Harquahala Mountains, there's a Little Harquahala Mineral District. This is an old mining district that's yielded a fair amount of copper and gold. Way over on the right is the Vulture Mine, with something like 300,000 ounces of gold production historically. And then just to the left of the Vulture Mine says Osborne Mineral District, and a whole bunch of leaders pointing to different areas. That's another historic mining district. As you can see there in the upper right, the total historic production from these 3 districts is about 500,000 ounces of gold, 500,000 of silver, and about 1,000 tons of copper, and perhaps 5,000 tons of lead. So this is an area that we know has substantial precious metal mineralization that has been included in part within this Sonoran Desert Heritage Plan. Also, the Aguila Mineral District, as you can see sort of in the center, is almost entirely within the proposed Sonoran Desert Heritage lands. And that is a manganese district. Historic production around 20,000 tons of manganese. Manganese is a strategic and critical mineral. It's essential for steel production, and we import 100% of it, mostly from Africa, some from China, mainly from places that are considered unstable politically and with possible supply disruptions. It's because of the essential nature of manganese for steel, and because of the instability of its sources, that it's rated so highly as a strategic and critical mineral. The next figure shows the large number of manganese deposits that are present in western Arizona. This is the largest reserve of manganese in the United States. These are large, low-grade deposits. They have not been economic to mine at current prices, but in the future, if manganese should become, these manganese resources could become important if there are major supply disruptions from foreign sources. Next image shows, okay, I want to move on to porphyry copper deposits. It's another type of deposit that I evaluated the potential of the Sonoran Desert Heritage lands. As you can see on this map, 5 of the 25 largest porphyry copper deposits in the world are in southeastern Arizona. And this area with this big cluster of porphyry copper deposits is one of the 3 great clusters of porphyry copper deposits in the world. The other 2 are in Chile. And the next figure shows the Sonoran Desert Heritage lands adjacent to that cluster of porphyry copper deposits. Well, the point is that we have a world-class mineral resource province here, and withdrawing any large amount of land adjacent to this province is potentially problematic for economic activity, industrial activity. So the next image shows the northern part of the Sonoran Desert Heritage proposed withdrawal area. The thin blue line outlines the proposed national conservation area. Porphyry copper deposits in Arizona are almost entirely associated with granitic rocks of a particular age, about 50 to 80 million years old. Geologists know this as laramide age, that's the term we use. The pale reddish color here with the TKG designation are laramide age granitic rocks that potentially are associated with porphyry copper deposits. As you can see, there are two within the withdrawal area. There's another one just to the right there in the Vulture Mountains. And so for that reason, we think that there's high potential for porphyry copper deposit discoveries in the Bighorn Mountains area. Underneath the labeled Bighorn Mountains on this figure, you can see the yellowish-orange color. Those are younger volcanic rocks that could potentially conceal porphyry copper deposits over a big area at the periphery of those laramide age intrusions. These will not be discovered without a lot of drilling activity, and so withdrawing these lands would prevent any activity that would potentially identify a porphyry copper deposit.
So John, these areas have all been explored for the last 100 years or more, but you're saying it's the copper deposits that have been at the surface that have been discovered so far, and that out here, both in the exposed granitic rocks and under the volcanic cover, there may be buried porphyry copper deposits that have yet to be discovered, and that this withdrawal would prevent that, any exploration.
Yeah, that's right. The easy deposits have been discovered. The ones that we still haven't discovered are buried, and they can be identified with geophysical methods, often with electrical resistivity studies, and they can also be identified by drilling. And so this basically, that's the future porphyry copper exploration in Arizona,
Okay.
is looking for the concealed ones.
Understood. Okay.
Next. And so what I did here was I ranked the proposed withdrawal area for the Sonoran Desert Heritage proposal based on estimated mineral resource potential for primarily copper and gold. The high areas, the high resource potential, the yellow is designated the northern Harquahala Bighorn area because it has potential both for precious metal vein deposits and for porphyry copper deposits, as well as some manganese resources. The southern area, the high potential area, is in the Santan Mountains east of Gila Bend, and that's an area that also has laramide age igneous rocks that could be associated with porphyry copper mineralization. And in fact, there are some areas of porphyry mineralization just to the east of that area in the V-Coal district, and even further to the east at the Lakeshore Mine. So those are the two areas that we would designate high potential, the green for medium or moderate potential, and the blue for low potential, based on various geologic criteria that are outlined in the report. Finally, in the next figure, I want to say a few words about sand and gravel, or aggregates. Aggregates are derived often from stream beds, from broken up sand and gravel that is resistant to erosion. It's the stuff that remains after a lot of transport. Often it's very quartz rich. It's used for concrete, so you mix cement and aggregate and get concrete. And so it's essential for building. And also for asphalt. It's mixed with tar to make asphalt. This is a sand and gravel operation along the Gila River, and like I said, this is a lot of the cost of sand and gravel has to do with its transport. So you want to produce it near the destinations of the product, near development. And if take the next slide, please. If this shows the major drainages in western Maricopa County, in the blue dashed line, and the point is that as development occurs west of Phoenix, and it will someday, every building, every house, every canal will need cement or concrete as well as asphalt for new roads. And the likely sources, the closer the better for the cost. And these black outlined areas are areas in stream beds that have high potential for sand and gravel production that would be affected by designation of these lands as withdrawn from mineral entry. And then finally, there's another area to the northwest in the Harquahala Mountains that has a kind of igneous rock that is also very good for crushed rock for sand and gravel uses and aggregate uses.
All right, John, thanks. There's a lot more here we could continue talking about, but we're out of time for this morning. I think we're going to expect to see your report out, published here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to make sure that gets into the hand of the appropriate land managers, the federal land managers. There could be a bill introduced into Congress any day now about this, so we're making sure that this information is out there, can be used to help make good informed decisions about land use in this area. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is a little summary, video clip that we've compiled from this just completed Tucson Gem and Mineral Show that ran from Thursday through Sunday of this last week here in Tucson. We've got some great shots talking with some of the collectors, some of the dealers, some of the people who have been involved with the show for decades. And so this is just a little teaser clip of a much longer video we're going to have up on the Arizona Experience website here very shortly. So I think we can switch over to the clip now.
My name is Paul Harder. I'm the 2013 show chairman for the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, and I'd like to welcome you to Tucson, Arizona.
Ian Bruce, and this is Diana Schlegel. I'm from England, and Diana's from Germany, and this is now my 20th year in Tucson. When I first came to Tucson, I was much younger, and if you look around all the dealers here, it's now Tucson has become the world center for the whole mineral business. So you have dealers coming here, and once you come to Tucson as a mineral dealer or collector, you come every year. So it's almost like a life sentence.
I'm Al Liebetrau.
The other half.
The other half.
And we have been collecting rocks, fossils, petrified wood, crystals, everything, you name it, for about 50 years now. Died in the Little Rock Hounds, but our specialty over the years has been fluorite. So when we were given this opportunity to exhibit, we jumped.
Encountered this in a very heavy clay-filled zone after 10 days of removing mud by hand with spatulas. We saw the specimen, and it slowly unveiled itself. Now, we like large specimens because we can work with them, but if they get to a certain size, you get a little worried. When they got to this size, we were seriously worried about actually being able to move it, because the specimen started out about 40 feet over our head from where our rail tracks are.
Hi, I'm Alain Marteau. I'm a geologist and a mineral dealer and collector. I come from France. I live in Chambéry in the Alps, not very far from Geneva and Lyon. And this year, for the fluorite exhibition, I brought a few specimens from my own collection to show the diversity of the French fluorite. We had
This pseudo-octahedral crystal of scheelite on muscovite is one of the classics from the country of China, from an area called Mount Zubaoding in the Sichuan province of China. And then just recently, out of a collection over in the Middle East area, we acquired this beautiful Brazilian tourmaline, gem pencil of green tourmaline that's piercing through a quartz crystal. So just a fabulous mineral specimen from the area in Brazil. The Collector's Edge does 5 different show locations every year in Tucson, and our show culminates here at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show.
Okay. Well, that about wraps up this episode of Arizona Mining Review. Thanks for tuning in. If you've missed part of the show or know others who would like to take a look at it, we record this every time and post it up on our YouTube channel. So just come to the Arizona Geological Survey website for the link, or search online for Arizona Mining Review. I want to thank our production crew who does a great job here. Mike Conway is our producer. Control panel back here run by Jordan Manny. Ron Palmer's our technology manager. And design, graphics, and video production was by our superb team, Rowena Davis, Arnie Bermudez, and Stephanie Marr. The show here is produced by the Arizona Geological Survey. And we're doing this monthly, so watch the website and sign up for notices about the March show, which we'll be putting together here in the next few days. Thanks for tuning in.